Hi, I'm Frances from Atelier Lomla. I create art-related videos, and today I'll show you the painting process of a commission I received for invitations to a name-giving ceremony. The customer asked for a medieval-style invitation, especially in the style of a songbook that was created in Switzerland in the Middle Ages, called Codex Manesse. It has a very distinct style, and I tried to study it beforehand. And I realized some very funny things I want to share with you. Every single person, even the children, have curly hair. There are some meme-worthy mannerisms in this songbook. Almost all of the people are seen from the side view. And there is also meaning behind the clothes that the people wear. Because this is a married couple, I had to think of that when painting the woman, for example. She has this special head covering that shows that they are married. The hardest thing was to do the composition because rarely do the characters really touch each other. They are standing next to each other and most times don't overlap. Therefore, I had to put the child in the center of the piece and make sure no one was touching each other, which sounds hilarious now that I'm saying it. But I think it turned out very, very good, actually, and will now comment more on it while I am painting the invitation. The originals are most probably done in tempera from the looks of it, which was back then a commonly used paint. The only brand that still has tempera in artist quality is Sennelier, but I never worked with it before, and gouache does look similar, therefore I decided to do this painting in gouache. I'm mostly using the Academy from Schminke. I also have one designer's gouache as well as a Corridum gouache, also from Schminke. The paper I am painting on is the Hahnemühle 200 grams per square meter pure cotton. If you are interested in watercolor papers, I did a whole test trying to find my favorite watercolor paper that is cold press and cotton. And I did find it, and it's somewhere, I'll link it somewhere in the corner. Next to the actual design, it was very important, in my opinion, to get the exact right shade of colors. In the Middle Ages, they didn't have all of the colors available that we have today. Therefore, it was important to mix and match, have this certain shade of blue and this cinnabar red, as well as the gold decorations outside in the frame. The painting process itself was fairly easy. I really believe the color mixing was the hardest part. There are only very few shadows, not a lot of details. It's almost as if you are painting in a coloring book. What is still giving me a headache at this point, though, is that I know I'll have to outline all of it with a very fine brush. And I don't want it to look, as I mentioned, like a coloring book page. It shouldn't be too strong of an outline. Therefore, I decided to use a brush, a very fine brush with a sharp tip. It would look even better if I'd use a nib and ink, but I decided to go for ink and this very fine brush, simply because I'm not that well versed with using nibs and quills. Calligraphy also, not my strong suit, which is why I knew that the text above the painting, which was supposed to read invitatio, which is Latin for invitation, was going to be done on my iPad. No way would I ever be able to do this in calligraphy. But that's okay, you can't be good at everything, and as long as you know how to help yourself out of a bind and what to do instead, you'll be fine. Now I'm using my trusted Finetec Coliro watercolors. This is the color Tibet Gold. Aftermoon Gold, it is my second favorite. You can tell which one is the favorite because it's almost empty. But it is beautiful, it looks like antique gold, and I think it is a solid choice for this medieval invitation. On the invitation itself, it won't be that visible that it is a real gold shimmering color, but I don't do things halfway. And I wanted to be prepared just in case if the customer wanted the original as well. And we are now done with the gouache part. When you study the Codex Manesse closely, you can tell that there are some different mediums, probably some soft pastels used as well. I don't feel comfortable with soft pastels, only with oil pastels, and therefore decided to use the polychromos from Faber-Castell. These are colored pencils, and in combination with the lightly structured watercolor paper, I thought it would be a good combination to actually see some of the texture through this colored pencil painting. The only thing I didn't want to do at all that I wanted to do digitally was the beard of the father. Beards are depicted in a funny way in the Codex Manesse, and I didn't really know if I'd nail it on the first try. And just to be safe, I went ahead and added it in digitally later on. Before I do any of that though, I have to scan it and then load it onto my iPad. Because these watercolor sheets are a tiny bit too large for my scanning bed, I had to cut them, but that's okay. The motif was supposed to be cut out anyway, but I'm taking my paper scissors and cut the motif. Then I'm scanning it in my Epson EcoTank scanner and printer. This is the same printer. It is able to do A3 size, with which I am also printing the final invitations. I was in contact with the client and talked about what kind of paper they wanted. Of course, you can't do a medieval invitation on normal white printing paper. So I sent them different options and we went for a very light cream color. All in all, they needed 25 invitations as well as 25 envelopes. I am now loading it onto the iPad in the program called Procreate. I didn't have to do much, as I mentioned, the beard, but then also because this watercolor paper is structured, I did some test prints and the structure showed through, which was not what I wanted nor needed. It only showed through as little gray spots. Therefore, I had to cut out the motif in Procreate and save it as a PNG. PNG files don't have a background, not a white background as you normally have in a document. And that way I was able to print a very nice, clean motif. This was the last test print I did, and now I can start to print on the Artos paper. The printer takes a while, but its printing quality is incredible. You might wonder why the lettering at the top is so small. It is because it is that way in the Codex Manesse. Each page has a title and that is written in red above the motif. So that's part of the medieval style. This is very nice. This looks perfect actually. Let's print the rest. It's gonna take a while and then I'll check back in with you guys. After all the prints were finished, I started to cut them by hand. I did not use my guillotine because I'm way more precise with this see-through ruler and my rolling cutter. If it's a commission like this, I want to be as precise as possible. Of course, I want the client to receive a perfect product they are very happy with. Therefore, I did cut each of these by hand with my rolling cutter. Nowadays, it's such a fun part for me to send off and package the orders. I love wrapping it in this tissue paper, making sure everything is secure for transport, using the branded things and items I made myself, such as stickers or these stamps I am decorating the packages with. I also have thank you cards I'm printing with my Epson, and I try to reuse as much as possible. Whenever I'm ordering at my art supply store, Gerstecker, they are sending so much of this brown packaging paper. I straighten out all of it and then use my little stamp to print my own branded packaging paper. I also try to use as little tape as possible. Also, this is paper tape. All that's left to do is print out the client's address and shipping label on label paper, and then I'll bring it to my post office and send it off. Thank you so much for being around this whole process of making the commissioned medieval invitations. Thanks so much for sticking around until the very end, and I hope to see you in the next video. Bye!